Hello, my friends. Dr. Mandell here. Women over 50 often blame aging, hormones, or stress for hair thinning. But what most people never realize is that certain popular hair oils can actually trigger more shedding, scalp inflammation, and follicle stress. Today, we're going to uncover 5 oils that seem natural and healthy, but can secretly worsen hair loss in mature women. And most importantly, I'll show you why and what to use instead. For millions of women over 50, hair loss feels like a quiet theft, slow, subtle, and deeply personal. But what few ever suspect is that the very oils advertised as miracle hair savers may be silently worsening the problem. Every day, heavy, sticky, or inflammatory oils are massaged into fragile scalps with hope. But beneath the surface, they're triggering microscopic reactions that accelerate shedding. And the truth is rarely talked about. The first shock comes with coconut oil. It's marketed as pure, tropical, and nourishing. But for aging hair, finer, drier, and more vulnerable because of hormonal decline, coconut oil behaves very differently. Its structure is dense, saturated, and occlusive, meaning it forms a stubborn seal over the scalp. While this might seem protective, research in dermatology shows that occlusive oils trap heat, sweat, and dead skin. And when this buildup mixes with the scalp's natural yeast, Malassezia, it creates the perfect storm for inflammation. Inflammation is not just a little redness. It's the beginning of follicular distress. Under a microscope, you'd see swelling around each hair root, blood flow becoming restricted, and the early signs of miniaturization. What appears days later as extra strands in the shower is actually the result of this slow, silent process. Coconut oil isn't bad, but for the wrong scalp type, it becomes suffocating. Castor oil holds another secret. Online trends praise it as a miracle for growth, but few mention the risks for women with thinning hair. Castor oil is one of the thickest plant oils on earth. Its viscosity is so intense that even a small amount creates tension on fragile strands. Scientists studying hair shaft behavior have shown that thicker products increase friction and mechanical stress. This means that when you apply castor oil, you may actually be tugging on hairs that are already weakened by age-related estrogen decline. Imagine tiny roots fighting to stay anchored while a heavy coat of oil pulls downward. The result? Breakage, shedding, and the illusion that hair is falling out more than before. Most never realize why. Olive oil tells another story, one that hides in plain sight. It's celebrated for heart health and anti-inflammatory benefits inside the body, but on the scalp, the chemistry changes. Olive oil has a high oleic acid content. Oleic acid is known to disrupt the skin barrier in sensitive individuals, making it more permeable and prone to irritation. Studies show that oleic acid can increase the penetration of yeast into the upper layers of the scalp. And for women over 50, whose scalps often become drier, thinner, and more reactive, this means olive oil can spark flaking, itchiness, and inflammation. And inflammation once again leads directly to weakened follicles. In fact, dermatologists confirm that dandruff itself is not just a cosmetic issue. It is a form of scalp irritation that directly contributes to increased shedding. Women using olive oil on a sensitive scalp may unknowingly be feeding the problem instead of soothing it. Amla oil reveals a different kind of danger, one hidden not in the herb, but in the bottle. Most commercial amla oils are not pure. They're diluted in mineral oil, paraffin, or petroleum derivatives because these ingredients are cheap, abundant, and make the oil spread more easily. But mineral oil is not breathable. Dermatology research shows it creates a barrier on the scalp that blocks oxygen exchange and traps heat. While this barrier can lock in moisture on the skin, on the scalp, it becomes a breeding ground for irritation. Hair follicles, which thrive on a clean, oxygen-rich environment, become stressed. You might feel this as tenderness, itching, or sudden shedding after washing. And because most consumers trust the natural label, they never suspect that the oil itself, not age, not stress, not menopause, was the trigger. And then there is rosemary oil, one of the most scientifically supported oils for hair growth. But the issue is not the oil, it's the power hidden inside it. Rosemary essential oil is extremely concentrated. One drop contains hundreds of active plant compounds called terpenes. These terpenes can stimulate blood flow to the scalp, but when used undiluted or too frequently, they can burn the scalp barrier. Research on essential oils confirms that direct repeated contact with concentrated terpenes can cause microscopic tears in the skin's protective layer. And once the barrier is damaged, inflammation erupts beneath the surface. For a woman over 50 whose scalp is naturally thinner due to declining collagen, this irritation can be far more severe. What begins as a tingle can become redness, shedding, or what dermatologists call irritant contact dermatitis. But because rosemary is praised everywhere as a hair growth miracle, women keep applying more, believing that the shedding is just part of the process. They never see the connection. All of these oils share one hidden truth. When the scalp becomes inflamed, even slightly, the hair growth cycle is disrupted. Inflammation pushes follicles prematurely into the shedding phase, known as telogen effluvium. This is not speculation. It is one of the most documented forms of hair loss in dermatology. The tragedy is that most women blame aging when the real culprit is silent scalp stress caused by the wrong oils. And the reason women over 50 are especially vulnerable is rooted in biology. Declining estrogen changes everything. The scalp becomes drier, the hair becomes thinner, and the follicles produce smaller strands with less natural protection. Oils that were harmless in your 20s or 30s can become irritating in your 50s and 60s. What once made the hair shiny may now smother it. What once felt nourishing may now create inflammation. Genetics, stress, and hormones all play a role, but scalp environment is the invisible variable that few ever consider. This is not a message of fear, it's a message of clarity. Hair loss is not always a sign of the body failing. It is often a reaction to products that were never meant for fragile aging follicles. And the power to change that starts with awareness. Choosing lighter oils, understanding how your scalp responds, and respecting the biology of aging can transform the hair you have and protect the hair you're trying to keep. And for many women, simply removing heavy, pore-clogging, or irritating oils is the first step toward calming the scalp, reducing inflammation, and allowing the follicles to breathe again. Because sometimes the greatest danger to your hair is not what time takes away, but what we unknowingly apply with hope, believing we're helping, while the scalp quietly struggles beneath the surface. Most women over 50 think hair loss begins at the surface, what they can see in the mirror, but the real story unfolds in a deeper, darker place, under the scalp, where quiet inflammation slowly strangles the life out of every follicle. This inflammation is invisible, painless, and often ignored. Yet scientists now know it is one of the most powerful forces behind hair thinning in women past midlife. And it doesn't begin with aging itself. It begins with the environment in which each follicle is forced to live. Picture a single hair follicle, small, delicate, and pulsing with microscopic blood vessels that feed it oxygen and nutrients. When a woman is young, this system operates with remarkable precision, but with age, hormonal shifts, declining estrogen, and changes in immune response make the scalp far more sensitive. Dermatologists refer to it as inflammaging, a slow-burning chronic inflammation that builds year after year. You can't see it, you can't feel it, but inside the follicle, cells are fighting for survival. Each flare of inflammation restricts blood flow just enough to weaken that hair's life cycle. Over time, strands become thinner, weaker, shorter, and eventually they stop growing altogether. What makes this even more alarming is that inflammation can be triggered by the smallest everyday factors, things women never connect to hair loss. One study from the Journal of Investigative Dermatology revealed that even mild scalp irritation can send a follicle into the shedding phase weeks earlier than normal. Just imagine, every itch, every flake, every tight or tingling sensation might signal that the follicle is under attack. But because inflammation doesn't always hurt, most women assume everything is normal. They keep pushing through, brushing through, washing through, never knowing the war unfolding beneath the surface. And here's the truly shocking part. The vast majority of women who experience sudden shedding after age 50 are actually dealing with an inflammatory condition, not genetic hair loss. Genetics determine sensitivity, yes, but inflammation decides the outcome. The scalp becomes drier as estrogen declines, reducing natural oils that once formed a barrier against irritants. The immune system becomes more reactive, and the slightest imbalance, product buildup, weather changes, yeast overgrowth, or the wrong oil, can ignite an inflammatory cascade. Scientists have measured this cascade and found that just one inflammatory episode can shrink a follicle by nearly 20% in its next growth cycle. That means thinner hair before the woman even knows something is changing. As the inflammation continues, it triggers oxidative stress, an overload of free radicals that damage cellular structures. It's the same process that ages the skin, but on the scalp, the consequences are far more devastating. These free radicals attack the follicle's stem cells, the very cells responsible for generating new hair. When these cells become damaged, the follicle miniaturizes. And when enough follicles miniaturize, the entire scalp begins to appear sparse. Researchers from Harvard even identified inflammation as one of the leading triggers for follicle dormancy, where hair stops growing long before a woman notices visible thinning. This is why so many women say it happened so fast, because the inflammation was building for years, quietly rewriting the biology of the scalp. And what triggered it? Often shockingly simple things: shampoos with harsh sulfates, conditioners with synthetic fragrances, heavy oils blocking oxygen flow, dandruff allowed to persist, tight hairstyles pulling on fragile follicles, even the natural decline in collagen around the scalp, which reduces structural support, can increase sensitivity and trigger inflammatory signaling. Then comes perhaps the most painful truth. Inflammation doesn't just weaken hair, it steals a woman's confidence. It makes her feel older, even when she isn't. It makes her question her health, her hormones, her beauty, when all along something microscopic was slowly taking control. And it's not because she did anything wrong, it's because no one ever told her the real enemy was invisible. But the science is deeper still. Within the inflamed scalp, the body produces cytokines, chemical messengers of the immune system. These cytokines, especially interleukin-6 and TNF-alpha, are known to interfere with the anagen phase, the growth phase of hair. Studies show high cytokine levels correlate directly with increased shedding. In other words, the follicles are being told to shut down. The body, trying to protect itself, is accidentally sabotaging its own hair. Women aren't imagining their thinning hair. Their biology is crying for help. And what fuels these cytokines? Chronic stress, one of the most underestimated triggers for inflammatory hair loss. When cortisol levels stay elevated for too long, blood flow to the scalp decreases. This is why so many women experience shedding after emotional stress, illness, or hormonal disruption. The scalp interprets stress the same way it interprets injury, with inflammation, and the follicles pay the price. Yet here is the twist that almost no one talks about. Inflammation is reversible. The body is not broken, it is responding. Research has shown that when inflammation is reduced, even miniaturized follicles can start producing thicker hair again. Blood flow improves, nutrient delivery strengthens, stem cells reawaken. This is why women who fix their scalp first often see dramatic improvements in shedding, density, and texture within weeks, because inflammation was the missing link all along. And this leads to a powerful realization. Hair loss is not an isolated condition. It is a message that the scalp environment has been disrupted, a message that follicles are suffocating under stress, products, irritation, or imbalance, a message that the biological harmony that once supported healthy hair has been disturbed, and ignoring that message only accelerates the loss. The tragedy is that millions of women try to grow hair without ever healing the scalp. They massage in oil after oil, serum after serum, treatment after treatment, hoping to fix the visible problem at the ends, while the invisible problem at the root grows worse. Because nothing grows in an inflamed environment, not plants, not skin, not hair, but the message of inflammation is not hopeless. It is illuminating. It reveals the path back, a path that begins not with more products, but with awareness, with understanding the biology, with treating the scalp as living tissue, not dead skin, with calming the inflammation so follicles can breathe, expand, and thrive again. And when a woman finally understands this, everything changes. She stops fighting her hair and starts healing it. Because when inflammation leaves, growth returns. And the follicles, quiet survivors of years of stress, finally get the chance to do what they were designed to do: grow hair with strength, vitality, and life. When most women over 50 look in the mirror and see thinning hair, they don't realize that the solution isn't always more treatments, more serums, or more oils. It's choosing the right ones. Because the truth is simple but rarely spoken. Not all oils help aging hair. Some suffocate it, some irritate it, but a select few, lightweight, anti-inflammatory, scientifically supported oils can completely transform the scalp environment, revive dormant follicles, and slow down the clock on hair aging. And these oils aren't magical. They work because they align with the biology of a woman's scalp after 50, when everything from hormones to skin structure to follicle sensitivity has changed. The first key is understanding what happens to the scalp as estrogen declines. Dermatologists describe it as a shift in lipid composition. In simple terms, the scalp produces less natural oil, becomes more fragile, and loses the protective barrier that kept it resilient for decades. This means heavy oils no longer sit on the scalp the same way. They weigh it down, clog pores, and trap heat. But lightweight oils, ones that mimic natural sebum, integrate seamlessly into the skin structure, reinforcing the weakened barrier instead of overwhelming it. This is exactly why jojoba oil is so extraordinary. Unlike coconut or castor oils, jojoba is not technically an oil. It's a liquid wax ester, almost identical to the scalp's natural sebum. When applied, the body recognizes it instantly. It absorbs quickly, moisturizes without smothering, and delivers anti-inflammatory compounds that calm the follicle environment. In fact, studies show jojoba can reduce skin inflammation by inhibiting prostaglandins, chemical messengers that trigger swelling and irritation. For a sensitive, aging scalp, this is like giving it a breath of fresh air. Argan oil offers another layer of support, rich in vitamin E and antioxidants. This oil has been studied for its potential to protect the scalp from oxidative stress, the same stress that weakens follicles and accelerates aging. Scientists found that Argan's tocopherols help stabilize the cell membranes inside hair follicles, making them more resilient against damage. Women who use Argan consistently often report softer hair, fewer breakage points, and a noticeable reduction in shedding. That's because healthier follicles produce stronger strands, and stronger strands survive the daily wear and tear that aging hair struggles with. Argan doesn't just coat the hair, it fortifies it from within. Then comes grapeseed oil, one of the lightest and most overlooked oils in hair care. Dermatologists love it because it's non-comedogenic, meaning it doesn't clog pores, critical for women with scalp buildup or chronic shedding. But what makes grapeseed oil truly impressive is its high concentration of linoleic acid, Research shows that linoleic acid deficiency in the scalp can lead to increased water loss, inflammation, and weakened follicles. Grapeseed reverses this process by replenishing that missing fatty acid, restoring strength to the scalp barrier. And its natural antioxidants, called proanthocyanidins, have been shown to stimulate hair cycle progression in animal studies, promoting faster transition into the growth phase. This is why women who switch from heavy oils to grapeseed often notice the scalp feels lighter, cleaner, calmer, because grapeseed doesn't just sit on the scalp, it supports it. Pumpkin seed oil adds yet another dimension. This oil has captured scientific attention for its role in blocking DHT, a hormone responsible for follicle shrinkage. One clinical trial on men showed a 40% increase in hair count after pumpkin seed oil supplementation, but the topical benefits are equally promising. Pumpkin seed oil contains delta-7 sterine, a compound believed to compete with DHT at the follicle level. For women over 50 who may be experiencing androgenic thinning without realizing it, pumpkin seed oil can create a more favorable hormonal environment at the scalp. Many women describe it as strengthening from the root, and science supports that feeling. It also contains antioxidants and anti-inflammatory nutrients that combat scalp stress from aging, UV exposure, and environmental toxins. Rosemary oil completes the picture, but only when used correctly. This oil has been shown in clinical studies to perform as effectively as minoxidil, one of the most widely used hair loss treatments. Researchers attribute this to rosemary's ability to increase blood flow to the scalp and reduce inflammation around the follicles. But rosemary's power lies in its potency, and potency must be diluted. When properly mixed with a lightweight carrier oil and used only a few times per week, it becomes a natural stimulant, delivering oxygen and nutrients directly to the follicle bulb. This increased microcirculation is crucial for aging follicles struggling to stay active. For many women, rosemary becomes the spark that wakes up dormant roots. All of these oils share one thing. They work with the biology of the aging scalp, not against it. Lightweight, anti-inflammatory, nutrient-rich, easily absorbed. They restore balance to a scalp environment struggling with dryness, sensitivity, and decreased circulation. They create conditions where follicles can thrive, where inflammation calms, where shedding slows, and where growth has the chance to resume. But the deeper truth is this: the right oils don't just change the scalp, they change the emotional landscape of a woman's life. Hair isn't just hair, it's identity, confidence, and continuity. When thinning begins, many women feel like they're losing a piece of themselves. It's quiet, private suffering. Choosing oils that support healing instead of harm is an act of reclaiming control. It's the moment a woman stops fighting her hair and starts understanding it. The moment she realizes she doesn't need to overwhelm her scalp, she needs to nourish it. And the reason these lightweight anti-inflammatory oils are so powerful is because they honor the biology of aging instead of trying to overpower it. They don't force growth. They create the environment where growth can naturally occur again. A calm scalp, a protected barrier, better blood flow, less inflammation, stronger follicles. This is the foundation of healthy hair after 50. Because nature doesn't stop working as we age. It simply needs different support. And when you give it that support, when you choose oils that mirror the body's own chemistry and soothe its natural vulnerabilities, the results can feel nothing short of transformative. The shedding slows, the texture improves, the confidence returns. And for many women, one simple shift from heavy, clogging oils to lightweight, healing ones becomes the turning point in their entire hair health journey. If you found this helpful, please share it with others who are struggling with hair thinning. And as always, make it a great day.